about classification. If you notice, you see this kind of this text, right? This text is in that hardcover book, but you already have a copy at your desk, okay? So point to it, put your name on it, the paper, the text, there it is. Put your name on it. And I'm going to have you read it. I'll have you read just as many sentences as you can in a few minutes, and then we'll read it together, okay? As you read, I want you to think about 3 things, and I'm going to write them down. I'll put them in this little corner, okay? And it's basically this. You're looking for 3 things. What? How? And why? And I'll fill in the rest. So what, basically, what is classification? Please look at me. What is classification? That's your what question. Okay, if we're going to learn about classification, don't you want to know what it is? I want to know. I want to know, right, Gigi? You had that little like face. You were like, what? So that's what we're going to answer. What? Okay? So what is classification? The next one would be, how do scientists classify animals? So what is classification? How do they classify? And then the last question I want you to think about is why. Why do we even do that? Got it? So what, how, why? Okay? Go ahead and read. Jasper, Gigi. Jasper, come over to me. Bring your text. Ryan, do you need me to read that to you? No? Come on, Jasper, bring your text. Walk quickly, buddy. Read it here, and if you see a word that you really need me to help you chunk, then I will do that. We're going to read it together in a minute, but just for now. Pudding. All done? When you're done, you can just give me kind of a silent nod or just a thumbs up. And then what I'd like you to do while you're waiting is please go ahead and see if you see any answers to the what question, the how question, or the why question. Okay? And you can even number them. We could number them like 1, 2, 3 if you want. You could do that. It's okay if you don't finish the text. That's okay. We're going to read it together in a minute. Right here. Where are you? Okay. If you are not done reading, I will stop you in about 45 seconds and we'll read it together. Okay? Where are you, babe? Already? Remember I told you what that word was? Classify. Mm-hmm. Same word, classify. Okay, please go ahead and pause, done or not. Thank you. Is there anybody that already started writing like a number 1 next to a sentence or a number 2 next to a sentence or a number 3? Good, good, okay. So I'm going to read it out loud. Jasper, you can return to your seat, please. I'm going to read it out loud and you're gonna, obviously you're gonna follow along, right, Juliana? You're gonna follow along. If you see anything that you think might be the answer to a what question, just put a number 1 next to it. If you see anything that would be the answer to the second question, which is a how, what would you put next to it? 2, because 2 is the how question. And what about if you see anything that answers the question why? What would you put next to that? 3. Awesome. All right, so listen along. Are you listening? Yes. All right, here we go. How do scientists classify animals? Well, wait a minute. The title says how. There's definitely going to be a how answer in here somewhere. Would you agree? Yeah, because that's that subheading. All right, classification is the act of putting things into groups. You already classify things in your life. You may classify some homework as easy and other homework as hard. You may classify favorite sports and least favorite sports, or books you have read and books you want to read. Classifying things helps make logical distinctions, and it is very important in the scientific world. Scientists classify animals to group them according to their similarities and differences. I love that strategy. Thank you. This allows scientists to keep track of the biodiversity or variety of living things on Earth and how this biodiversity may change over time. All right, who's got some 1s, some 2s, and some 3s? We'll only take a couple, and then we're going to go back and look at this at another time. Lily, what you got? You have a number 2, so how?
Scientists classify animals to group them according to their indifference.
I agree with that. Scientists classify animals to group them according to their similarities and differences. That might also be a why, though. Might also be an answer to the why question. Gio?
I have a number 1.
You have a number 1, which is what? That's the big question, is what is it? Right? Go ahead. Classification
is the act of putting things into groups.
Okay, everybody, that is important information. So can you do me a favor? That first sentence, please put a box around it. Just put a box around it. That first sentence. A box around this sentence right here. And you don't need to pay attention to where it says is the act of. That just means classification is. So classification is putting things into groups. Do we already put things into groups? Yep. Yep, they tell us that. Do I put you into groups sometimes?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Do we put people into groups kind of, do we do maybe boys and then girls?
Yeah.
Okay. When we look at the board, do we say people who are shorter in the front so that others can see? Yes, we do. We group things by math, science, humanities. We do that all the time, don't we? So scientists do this as well, all right? And we'll talk about this a little bit more. There are 2 other things I want to tell you. What we just did was we looked at some key details, and that's what you're studying in humanities. Main idea, key details. So we may not know the main idea yet of this particular section, but we do know some key details. Got it? Got it? And the key details are about what, how, and why. Okay? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? A little bit?
Yes.
Question, thoughts, comments? No? We're good? We're good? All right. One last thing I want to tell you. Everybody say one last thing. There are 2 times in this text where the author, the person who wrote this, gives you a definition. Those are words that they do not expect you to know automatically. They know you're not going to know them. So they actually tell you what it means. The first one is the first sentence. Everybody look at that first sentence. Classification is the act of putting things into groups. Boys and girls, that is the definition of classification, okay? So they know you're not going to know it ahead of time. That's what you're here for. You're here to learn about it. There's another one. Everyone please go to the next to the last line and look for that long word that starts with bio, B-I-O. See it, RJ? Do you remember what I said that word was? Bio. I see some of you trying to chunk that word. Biodiversity. Do you think they expect 3rd graders to know what biodiversity is? No. No. So guess what? They tell us, look, biodiversity, and then there's a comma, excuse me, or variety. You see it? That's vocabulary in context. That means there's a word in here that they know you are not going to know. So they just put a comma and they give you an or, and then they give you a synonym. So biodiversity means variety. Biodiversity really means variety of living things, because we know bio means life, okay? So it means like lots of different living things, and that's why we categorize them. Got it? All right, we will do a little bit more with this text later, but for now, please put it down. Thank you. You can turn it over if it's too tempting for you to touch while we're doing something else. All right, so now let's see if we can do some classifying ourselves, okay? And I think I wanted you to look at the text feature. I'm sorry, I told you to close that, but go ahead and open it back up to page 89. Love it. Now you're on fire. It's page 89. And if you can't see it, it's okay, because we'll talk about it. But if you can see it, that's awesome. And it looks like this. And this is a chart. 89 in the hardcover. And this is a chart. And this chart, we know that sometimes scientists put, or authors, not scientists, put charts together because the information's too hard to share in text. It's easier on a chart. All right, ready? As you're looking, if you can't see, go where she is. Like you can stand right behind her. You know you don't have to sit in a seat. You can stand right behind her so you can see it, okay? All right, here we go. We are going to try to put some classifications. We're going to look at some animals, okay? And we're going to classify them. So if we can go back to the other. Yes. Okay. So first we're going to look at a bat. Look at your chart. What do we know about a bat? Let's see. Ooh, cover that. It tells you the answer. Cover it. Cover it. It might tell you the answer. Let me see. Yes, it does. It tells you the answer. So cover it, cover it, cover it. But let's take a look at a bat. We might think that a bat is a bird because it has wings. I mean, it does. And does a bat fly? Mm-hmm. But it is in the mammal. Yeah, it's a mammal because it is warm-blooded and because it has fur. It does. Bats have fur. We'll have to get you a picture of a bat so you can see it. But bats do. Bats actually have fur. So where should we put this? In the mammal family. And because I don't want you seeing the rest of the answers, go ahead and close your books back up. I totally forgot. That's my bad. Close it. Close it. No peeking. All right, you ready? Now, let's look at a cardinal. RJ, do you know what a cardinal is? Do you know what it is? Have you ever heard of one? The St. Louis Cardinals baseball team? It's okay if you don't know. Juliana, tell them what a cardinal is. It's a bird. A cardinal is a bird. So we're going to put that in the bird family. It's a bird. Ooh, what about a frog? Is a frog a bird? That's a silly question. No. So it's either going to be an amphibian or a mammal. Tell somebody at your table. I hear lots of amphibian. Amphibian. Let's see. Okay. So we did this together, and this is something that you can see when you go on Discovery Ed on your own. Okay, you can see this on your own too. But there's a copy of this in that other book that you use. Yes, the softcover one. Do not turn to it now. This will be part of something that you will do later. We did the first three together. Oh, look, we're right. We got those right. So the other ones, toad, bear, and parrot, do you think you can do these by yourself? Yeah. I think you can. So later on you'll go back, okay? And you'll do that.